Hello and good day, and welcome to Purposive Communication Module 4. We are now on the second lesson of this module. Again, I am Sintara Zandibiatenkala, your instructor. So we are going to talk about this following specific topics for this lesson. We are going to talk about communication for various purposes, the science of persuasion, the kinds of speech according to its purpose or to their purpose, the kinds of speech according to delivery. So start with, let's have this a quote from probably the most quoted author from our book or from our module. According to Segako, communication becomes so part of us that it is a passport in understanding and conveying our needs and ideas to others, and that it begins with ourselves and with other people in various communication situations. You see here, message or messages are relayed and they vary depending on the situation, how it was encoded and how it was decoded according to the context. And because communication is something that is so vital, it is persuasive. We communicate for a purpose. This is a line that I have been saying to you guys ever since the start of our lesson in purposive communication. We all communicate for a purpose. This is something that we sometimes unconsciously do, but even if we are not conscious about it, we communicate for a reason. There are three general purposes of communication. It's first, informative, second, persuasive, and the third is argumentative. So we are going to look further with this specific processes of communication. Let's start with informative. So, communication is done to first impart knowledge to the audience, of course, or to your listener, or the decoder of the message, to clarify information and to secure understanding. And we, as a global communicators, need to be competent and relevant to our audience. Also, we have types of informative communication. So we have here by content, information about objects. It talks about something tangible. When we say tangible, something that can be touched, something that can be easily perceived, demonstrate new things that can be seen or touched. Then we have here information about processes. So this discusses a process in progress that will produce a certain outcome or result. Topics such as, aging, multitasking, and other life processes that fit under this category. The third, we have information about events, so it deliberates on anything worthy and notable that took place or are currently taking place, such as like now we are in the phrase of this election here in the Philippines, calamitous event, pandemic, yeah, and world events and others, etc. Then the fourth is information about concepts. It tackles ideas, belief, theories, and principles that will bring into perspective. So, next we have by purpose. Okay. So, first is information on description. When we say information and description, it speaks about a straightforward information as you describe what you want to say through a descriptive manner, describing. Second, it's information on explanation. It means to talk to clarify concept and ideas that have been known by many people to explain something. C, or the third is information on instruction. Here, it demonstrates in a logical manner the step-by-step instruction on how to operate, how to do, how to do something. Yeah, like for example, operate a certain equipment or machine, training programs for new operations in the office. Maybe this is typically like found on your to-do manual or manual, so it's instruction. And then we have the next one. We have persuasive. Persuasive is to influence or to move audience to do a certain action. So, according again to Segako, persuasive communication is the art of convincing viewers or readers to believe and accept a controversial issue by presenting the benefit of the topic. So, it is the process of motivating people to change or, note here, maintain their belief, attitude, or behavior. We need to remember that persuasion does not equate, it is not coercive. Okay? It's not forced. Instead, it allows the audience to think constructively and to make decisions on their own, using their own free will to do so. And, here in persuasive communication, it is something that is not seen immediately. Okay? This is usually seen gradually. People attitude or perception do not change instant. Okay? Not at the snap of our finger. It will take time. That's why we need to exert effort to persuade the audience to do something. Okay? Then we have here the types of persuasion. So we have by proposition, by desired outcome, and by direct approach. So we have here the first type. By types of proposition, we have here a proposition by fact, meaning it talks on issues having two or more angles with conflicting testimony, and the audience are required to know and select the truth from the information given. So here, the proposition is not enough with a definite yes or no, or maybe like an objection to it. Rather, it shapes the basis on an argument detailing, for the detailing of the topic. And then we have preposition for value. So this discussed about the truth and falsity of the issue. Like maybe, okay, so I actually pause it. Okay, so again, it discusses about the truth and falsity of the issue. Like, where's the truth in it? Okay, or if that's even the truth. And then we have proposition for policy. It allows a step beyond the queries of the fact or value that require an action or a policy. And then we have by desired outcome. So we have convincing. It happens when one needs to persuade the audience. It's need to change by giving them time to think and feel the situation. So it's like reinforcing. It's still a type of change. However, because you are causing the audience to adhere more strongly to a belief or attitude. Then we have actuating. It takes place when one needs to move the audience to a specific behavior. So here now the person is persuading, the person persuading has to recommend a specific action, such as like adaptation or discontinue, or like like banning something or someone. Adoption makes the viewers or the readers indulge in a new conduct or behavior, while when we say discontinuance wants to end a certain behavior in a profound manner. So like continue like when you say adoption, literally you are going to adapt that behavior and embody it. Discontinue is stop doing that behavior. Okay, and then we have direct approach, we have direct persuasion. It demonstrates a clear purpose of the writer or like the speaker to the target audience by stating it right away. While in indirect, this is the like counter part of it. It disguises or hides the intention of the writer or the speaker through a sense of only hinting the issue, and it is for the audience to actually comprehend the meaning of what is being written or being said. And then we have the third one. It's the argumentative. So when we say argumentative, it's to state a possession of an issue reflecting views, needs, and belief accompanied with reason and logic. It allows people to express themselves in appropriate ways that are direct, honest, but note here, does not violate person's right. So it allows people to express themselves in appropriate ways. And note again, while doing so, not violating a person's right. Now, you might be wondering if persuasive and argumentative are like the same, or are they equivalent, or are they different with each other? Actually, they are different. When we say persuasive speech, it makes claim based on opinions. Whereas for argumentative, the claim is based on factual evidence. For persuasive, it may not take opposing sides into account. While for argumentative, it makes counterclaim. Wow, I did make a wrong spelling here. This one is makes a counterclaim. And then for persuasive, it appeals to the emotion. While for argumentative, it convinces the audience through the merit and rationality of the claim and the proofs offered. Persuasive, it's emotion based. Argumentative, we have logic based. Okay? So moving on to the next topic, we are going to discuss the science of persuasion. So, how do we persuade someone to do what we want? Okay, so we have here 6 universal shortcuts as like guide to human behavior. We have reciprocity, we have scarcity, we have authority, we have consistency, we have liking, we have consensus. To understand this further, I have here a video lifted from our reference. It's about the science of persuasion. Let us watch this together. I think I'm just going to link.
Researchers have been studying the factors that influence us to say yes to the requests of others for over 60 years. And there can be no doubt that there's a science to how we are persuaded. And a lot of this science is surprising. When making a decision, it would be nice to think that
when we say reciprocity, to reciprocate. Obligation, we have like the obligation to give back when you receive. It's owing a favor. So here, people are obliged to give others the form of behavior, gift, or service that they have received first. In the video, there is an example that if your friend, for example, invites you to a party, then you feel or you might feel obliged to invite that friend to a future party. Okay, it's a context. It's in the context of social obligation. Like, people are more likely to say yes to those that they owe. Say it again, it's owing a favor. So we want to apply this technique then. If we want to apply the this behavior of reciprocity. Why am I having a mispronunciation for this word? Okay, so we need to be the first one to give and make sure that it is personalized and unexpected. Okay, and then we have the next. We have scarcity. So here, people want more of those things they can have less. Oh, I have another misspelled word here. Here, it's they can have less of. Okay, so it's not just simply enough to tell people the benefits they'll gain if they choose to adopt your proposition. Okay, so you need to point out what is unique about your proposition and what they stand if they lose. Like, if what they're going to lose if they fail to consider your product. And then we have the third, it's authority. So people will follow credible and knowledgeable experts. This is very true and very common. So it is important to signal then to others what makes you a credible, knowledgeable authority before attempting to influence them. So you can do this by like having another person which is also an expert to do an expert introduction for you, like maybe saying, this is Ben. He's actually an Oxford graduate and he's currently teaching at Harvard University. So like if I'm going to introduce my friend like that, I have like an image of being a teacher too, and then I have here another friend who is actually more credible, more knowledgeable, like higher, a lot higher than me. Then you might think that my friend Ben is a better teacher than I am. So now here, you might follow Ben more than me. So that's authority. We have the next one, we have consistency. So it's activated by looking for and asking for small initial commitments that can be made. So the detective of the influence looks for voluntary, active, and public commitments, and ideally gets this commitment into writing. For example, I talked about this actually earlier with my friends. It's about the strawless Friday. So like initially, it was only Friday. It was only strawless Friday. And then afterwards, people were kind of got used to that idea. And they actually applied that to their own lives too by like accepting that during Friday they don't use straws. Okay, and then now it's like strawless every day. Okay, this is actually Jollibee. Okay, so you might want to know what I'm talking about. So at first it was only Friday, and then they convince people to be strawless every day. There is another example in the video, so make sure to check it out. And then we have the next one, liking. So people say yes to the things that they like. Of course, right? If you like it, then you'll say yes. If you don't like it, then no. So there are three things here that or factors here that will cause people will say yes. So we say yes to people who are similar to us. We like people who compliments us, right? I think you like that friend who always say that, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so kind and everything. So a friend that always compliments you. or someone who always compliments you. And we like people who are cooperative with us towards mutual goals. Okay, so we like people who would most likely have the same mindset, same goals with us. So now how are you going to take advantage with this liking principle here? So you need to look, for areas of similarity that you share with others and genuinely make genuine compliments. So you can give, um, like, you give them genuine compliments before you even start to negotiate or you do start business with them. So, like, for example, oh, you also like K-pop? I also like K-pop, right? Oh, you're so good. Oh, you've been a long fan. And then afterwards, do the negotiation, you know? Can I have your photo card of Suga? No, just joking. So that's liking. And the last one, consensus. So people will look to the action of others to determine their course of action. This is similar with the quote, going with the flow. Okay, so how are you going to use then this principle? You need to point out that many others are already doing, especially similar others. Okay, so like you can say that a lot of people are already doing this particular specific something. Okay, and then maybe and not maybe, but you need to also show how similar these others or other people are. That's consensus. Now looking forward, we are now going to move on to this is actually like the third topic, the kinds of speech according to their purpose. So we have informative speaking, persuasive speaking, argumentative speaking, which were actually like already mentioned a while ago. And this, this the delivering of speeches is essentially in communicating for various purposes. Okay, you cannot do away with delivering speeches. In short. And hence, we move forward to the further discussion. We have first informative speaking. When we say informative speaking, the main purpose, the main goal of informative speaking is to, yes, you're right, share knowledge. So, how does how is this vital? It's vital in four ways. Okay. First is it empowers the listeners by giving them new ideas, hence increasing their competence. And it's important when you wish to actually introduce new ideas and knowledge of a certain topic or subject. And then we have it shapes listeners' perceptions, so it is important when you want the listeners to be prepared for future persuasive messages by revealing a situation they might not have been aware of. And then the third is it helps to set the agenda of public concerns. It's important when you wish to make listeners realize that a topic is important and the merits of serious consideration. And then lastly, it clarify opinions for action. So if you want to provide information that makes listener aware of the positive and negative aspects of options for action so that they can make informed, intelligent decisions. And you you can help your listeners to learn by following these 6 steps, which this is all listed in your module. The first is to approach your topic in a fresh and interesting way. you can present it in a creative way, if the situation allows you. Second, show the listeners how they can benefit from your information. Why would they need that information? Third, sustain attention with vivid examples and exciting stories. We understand a concept better if we use illustration and examples to showcase it. Fourth, organize your material clearly to make it easier to understand. Keyword, organize. Fifth, use strategic repetition to help listeners to remember. And then the last, it's to provide previews, like this will what will happen, and then summaries to aid retention. This is what we discussed. Moving forward to the next one, we have persuasive speaking. So here, the main purpose of persuasive speaking is to urge a choice among the options and ask for commitment. So the speaker here now acts as advocate that utilize ethical speaking by using good reasons based upon responsible knowledge and a sensitive consideration of the audience's interests through emotional involvement. There are 3 designs that serve the needs of persuasive speaking. We have the first one, the problem solving design. The second one is the motivated sequence design. And the third one is the refutable design. So we have here the problem solution design. This is used in presenting a problem that needs to be solved and offering a solution to address it. So it actually it's used in speeches involving attitudes and like urging action. So first, you need to convince your audience that there is a problem. There is actually a problem. And then afterwards, after you already convinced them that there is a problem, offer a solution for that problem. So that's a problem solving design. The next one is motivated sequence design, wherein it is used in topics that calls for action. This is like the last step for this 5 process step. The first one is arousing the attention, demonstrating need, and then third, satisfying the need. Fourth is visualizing the results, and yeah, the last one is calling for action. And then lastly, we have the refutable design. This is used when you must answer a strong opposition on a topic before you can establish your own position. So the opposing claims will become the main points of development. So how are you going to do that? First, attack the weakest points first, and then avoid the personal attacks. You do that by simply stating the point you intend to refute, then telling how to refute it, and then presenting your evidence or proof, drawing a conclusion, and then explaining the significance of the refutation. Refutation is often followed by demonstration, in which, of course, you need to prove a point to replace the one you have just disapproved. So you need to demonstrate that your point actually is true. It works. That's why you disapprove the other previously point made. And then we have the next and the last one, it's argumentative speaking. Here, the main purpose of the argumentative speaking is to answer questions that are vital within a persuasive design. An argument is the overall case a speaker develops to answer questions that are vital within the particular persuasive design. It combines evidence and proof to satisfy scrutiny of critical and constructive listeners. Arguments are based on the underlying forms of reasoning and there are 3 forms of argument depending on clear persuasive definitions for their effectiveness. We have first the deductive argument, second is inductive argument, and then the analogical argument. To illustrate, when we say deductive argument, it develops around a major premise, a minor premise, and a conclusion. The major premise, which is in white circle here, is often unstated, okay, but they are understood by the listeners. It is a generally accepted principle or like assumption or rule on which the argument rests. The minor premise, the gray circle here, is something that focuses on the specific issues relevant to the major processes. And the middle part, which is like the pink one there in the illustration, it's the conclusion. So the conclusion is drawn from the relationship between the major and the minor premise, and it tells us what we believe or do. And then you can, like, if you would visit Google and find definition for argumentative argument, they'll actually summarize it into, like, it moves general to specific. Okay. And the second one, which is the counterpart of deductive argument, we have inductive argument. When we say inductive argument, the speaker has an seemingly adequate grasp of reality, especially as reflected in the minor premise. Again, it moves from a specific to general. And then we have analogical, where it compares a proposed plan to a closely related programs already in existence. And the last part of this presentation, the kinds of speech according to delivery. We have read speech, memorize speech, impromptu speech, extemporaneous speech. When we say read speech, read is reading. It's reading from a manuscript, and it's delivered word by word. For memorize, written speech is mastered and delivered entirely from memory. Okay, I can't do this. Third, it's impromptu speech. It means the speech where the speaker develops the ideas, the thought, and the language at the moment of delivery. While extemporaneous speech is the topic or the idea are already prepared beforehand, but the speaker will need to compose his speech or views in the language only at the moment of delivery. So that's it for Module 4, Lesson 2, and I hope you actually understand our topic for today. I am going to maybe do the Module 5 in this manner. Let me think about it. Tell me what you think about it. Okay, so that's all. Thank you for listening to this presentation.